2 men and a baby. Nothing unusual about that. Wait, is that man breastfeeding? While perhaps not the most remarkable thing to see in 2023, in 17th century Italy, this was more than enough to turn a few heads. Looking at this painting today, I'm filled with questions.
And what is going on?
Who is this person? Is Conchita Wurst an immortal vampire? Who is this shadowy figure lurking behind them? A butler? Batman? Just a hungry guy waiting for his turn? What is this text on the right? But most importantly, why did the Duke of Alcala, arguably the most powerful Italian until a certain pixelated plumber, pay one of the most famous artists of the day to paint it? Today, we're taking a look at this 1631 painting by Spanish artist Jusepe de Ribera, La Mujer Barbuda, the bearded woman. You heard that right, believe it or not. This isn't a painting of a man breastfeeding a child, but it's actually a depiction of a woman with an extreme hormonal imbalance. So, what do we know about this woman? Well, since we can't just check her Insta, we've got to rely on what other people said about her. Thankfully, she was pretty popular back in her day, and Ribera was kind enough to actually caption this piece. These 2 stone tablets on the right of the painting give us all the details we need. Turns out, this was a very real figure named Magdalena Ventura. At the time, she was 52, and she came from the town of Abruzzi in southern Italy. On top of that, she had 3 kids. Looks really aren't everything. According to Ribera, when she was 37, she began to go through puberty. 37? I've heard of late bloomers, but this is ridiculous. Okay, now that we know what we're actually looking at, let's take a deep dive into this weirdly wonderful work of art. The most obvious thing here is what the picture is named for, Magdalena's gloriously bushy beard. Seriously, this lady's got a face sweater that would make a lumberjack jealous. The first question I have is, what caused this to happen? The second, and most important, question is why can't I, at 26, grow anything more than a few scratchy pubes, while this mother of 3 looks like an extra from the next Lord of the Rings installment? Well, the best source of information on what's going on has to be W. Michael G. Turnbridge's 2011 article, La Mujer Barbuda by Ribera, 1631, A Gender Bender, published in Oxford's Quarterly Journal of Medicine. It's not exactly what I would call a beach read, but I powered through it so you don't have to.
I got you, homie!
In the article, Turnbridge claims that Magdalena's luxurious locks were the result of an ovarian tumour that he calls an androblastoma.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This does explain how a woman could have 3 kids and still grow a full-ass beard. What it doesn't explain, though, is why it looks like Magdalena has just one large misplaced breast.
Damn!
Yeah, maybe you didn't notice that at first, but now you can't unsee it. You're welcome. Odds are, this was done by Ribera to better emphasise the fact that this was a woman, and to showcase her femininity. I mean, sure, nothing says feminine like a single giant breast, but it does certainly stand out, compared to her incredibly manly face. Speaking of, she probably didn't actually look that much like a dude. Aside from the beard, obviously. If Turnbull's diagnosis is right, then she probably looked like any other woman, up until she started to grow a beard. But wait, there's more. Ribera was pretty good at symbolism and hid lots of little clues about the woman's true nature. Check out the tablets on the right. See those 2 objects? There's a spindle and a snail shell. Why? These might seem like an odd combination, but believe it or not, they're incredibly on point. Apparently, spindles have long been used as a symbol of traditional femininity in art, and its use here is no accident. Next to it though, the meaning behind the snail is far less obvious. That is until you realise that snails are hermaphrodites. This fact makes the snail's placement alongside the spindle far more relevant. Ooh, Ribera, you sly dog. Every part of this painting was meant to show off that Magdalena was more masculine than most men. She's broad-shouldered and her hands are strong and hairy. The look on her face and even her clothes make her look like someone straight out of the Old Testament. She is meant to be a true force. She's built like a linebacker and, if I'm being honest, I'd be a lot more scared of running into her in a dark alley than the scrawny dude behind her. Waiting in the wings like some Renaissance simp is Magdalena's husband. Ribera paid just as much attention to how he showed this guy, but he chose to cast him in less than ideal light. Standing next to his wife, he's skinny and hunched over. He's got the kind of scraggly beard that only a kid thinks looks manly, and the look on his face is one of shame and humility. Compared to the defiant gaze in his wife's eyes, he just looks so powerless. Even his clothing is designed to simply blend into the background. Why did Ribera treat him this way? Did he owe Ribera money? Was he trying to show that Magdalena was more of a man than her husband? Or that her local fame had overshadowed any of his accomplishments? Maybe he was embarrassed by his wife's condition. Sadly, we'll never know, as Ribera didn't really leave much information about him. Clearly, he wasn't the one wearing the pants, or robes, or whatever people wore back then. The most likely case, though, was simply to highlight just how masculine Magdalena was, or at least as she was perceived. The last part of the painting is these stone tablets on the right side. Adding captions to a picture is nothing new, it seems, and these give a little history on exactly who this woman is, as well as the motivations behind the painting's creation. The first tablet starts with the phrase, "Look, a great miracle of nature." Wow, what a nice thing to say. Especially combined with the powerful depiction of Magdalena, it's easy to think that Ribera was being genuine here. Sadly, looks like he was just throwing some shade. At this time and place in history, there was a real fascination with so-called freaks among humans. Paintings of human oddities at the time were incredibly common, but this one was different. Most of these paintings were used to mock the disabled and would be considered pretty offensive today. Even Ribera himself was guilty of this in his painting, The Clubfoot. The bright sky and smiling boy seemed to scream, "It's all good." All of this raises the question, why did Ribera choose to paint this woman at all? This guy was a pretty big deal back in the day, and he likely could have painted whatever he wanted. The answer is shockingly simple. Money. Being an artist is hard enough. Being a starving artist is even harder. So, when someone comes to you offering to pay for work, you take it, no matter how weird you might think it is. Ribera was born in Spain in 1591, but never really found it to his liking. Like so many before and since, he dreamed of more and moved to Naples around the age of 25. Ribera was already a known artist and quickly landed a cushy gig working as a painter in the court of Fernando Afán de Ribera y Tellez Girón, the Duke of Alcalá and Viceroy of Naples, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the Mother of Dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea. Wait, no, that's not right. Anyway, the Duke had quite a passion for art and was a long-term patron of Ribera even before he commissioned The Bearded Woman. The Duke's art collection has since become the stuff of legend. Seems that Il Duce had a special fascination with human oddities, and this painting was part of a gallery of portraits of people deemed unusual. Before the internet, if you wanted to look at something, you had to pay someone to paint it for you, and this guy apparently just loved to look at freaks. Magdalena was something of a local celebrity in her hometown and likely, at least in part, earned a living as a human oddity. The Duke eventually heard rumours of her and summoned her to Naples, where Ribera was commissioned to paint her portrait for the Duke's collection. And what a portrait it is. This thing is absolutely massive, measuring over 2 metres tall and nearly 1.5 metres wide, making the figures nearly larger than life. Magdalena looms over the viewer like a very disappointed grandmother. The thick brushstrokes really make every detail of the subjects and fabrics pop. Honestly, I don't know about all of you, but the idea of having people discuss my Facebook pics 300 years from now is both encouraging and terrifying. I guess we can all only hope to make an impact on anything as much as Magdalena shaped the art world.